living room. I'm sitting on the floor. But I just thought it would be fun to film out here because my boyfriend and I just recently bought some more furniture, aka this futon. And I just have like all of my fun like Halloween stuff out and some of my squishmallows. But because we are in a new filming location, there might be some different background sounds than what we are normally used to. But that's totally okay. Here, let me give you some. So, if you could not already tell by today's title, it is the end of September, which means it is time for another monthly reading wrap up. And I'm so excited to film this one. I feel like I read some books this month that I actually really liked, so I still have yet to update my reading journal. So we are just going to use my iPad, and my Goodreads app. Okay, so we've just got my Goodreads pulled up. Also, if you're not following me or we're not friends on Goodreads yet, my link is always down in the description box so that we can be friends over there. But let's go ahead and get started with what I read for the month. She's thinking really heavily about if she wants to open. So, I read 5 books again this month. I think that's my average just about so far every month this year. But you know what? I think that's pretty good. So, first up, I'm just gonna have my iPad down here so I can look at it when I need to. Alright. The first book that I read in September was Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. Guys, let me tell you, I didn't like this one. I quite liked Magnolia Parks, but Daisy Hates was just not doing it for me in the same way. So I only gave her 2 stars. And somehow, some way, Jessa Hastings was basically trying to write Magnolia Parks 2.0. So this is basically happening in the same timeline that Magnolia Parks is, but just from the perspective of Daisy and Henry and Daisy's brother Julian. And my thing is like, how did you take Magnolia Parks but basically make it but make it gang related essentially and include guns and make it more boring? That's just my hot take. It took me about a month to read this because I started it literally right after I read Magnolia Parks, but I just wasn't interested enough to read it quickly I kept prioritizing other books instead of this one. And I was bored, and realistically I skimmed about the last 35% of this book. And I'm not a skimmer usually, but I did not want to DNF this because I was like, I'm gonna make it through. Maybe it gets better. It did not get better. That's why the skimming. But I definitely see myself going back to like the Magnolia Parks books. I don't know if I will continue on with Daisy Hates. But I was gonna read the synopsis, but I think I'm gonna change my mind and not read the synopsis. But as I was saying, it's Magnolia Parks 2.0, just in the perspective of different characters and what they're going through. And there's guns, and there's violence, and there's this, and there's that, and there's toxic fuckboys, and blah, 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 you know? And the song that I picked for this book was Leave Me Lonely by Ariana Grande. So, that was the first book of September, and I was like, we have to come back from this. We had to. The book only got 2 stars. I was not about to let September be a bad month, okay? So, we followed up Daisy Hates with Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. Now, this book was so perfect for getting into the like fall vibe this year. Imagine a vampire real estate agent, and they're trying to like sell this house, and the house is haunted by a ghost. So they go and hire a medium who actually is a fake medium. They can't actually speak to ghosts, and it's like, you need to get rid of this ghost out of my house. And there's a whole bunch of different other creatures. There's angels and demons and death, and we come to find out that the fake medium is the godson of death. That's not a spoiler. It's in the synopsis. And then like death is held hostage, and so now this ragtag team of creatures has to go like play. It's like there is a game that the immortals play. There is only one rule: don't lose. And so now they all have to go play this game to like get death back from being held hostage. And I just ate it up so good. I love Olivia Blake. I love her writing. I love the way she writes characters. It's such a fun premise. I had a good time. I was intrigued constantly. Like, and 2 of the main characters in here, Brant and Fox, their romance, and some of the quotes in here about their romance. Immortality is empty without you. I can't. If all of this talking has not given you an idea of what I rated this book, I'm gonna tell you now. I gave it 5 stars. This was so good. Like, oh my god. I already talk about it a little bit, and I recommend it in my 10 plus books you should read this fall video. But this is me again coming to you saying, please read this. Please read this, okay? Thanks. Oh, and the song that I picked for this book was Talk by Hosier. Next up, I was really just on this hyperfixation about reading this book. I went to my bookstore like twice looking for it, and they didn't have it, and this and that, and like I couldn't find it myself when I went in there, and it was this whole ordeal because I was just like, I need to read this like right now, like right now. I could not stop thinking about reading this dang book. And the book is Heartless Hunter, aka Crimson Moth 1 by Kristen Sicarelli. The fact that I got to read Masters of Death and then follow it up with this, like that was just back-to-back bangers, okay? So, Heartless Hunter essentially follows Rune and Gideon, and Rune and Gideon are like complete polar opposites. Rune is a witch, Gideon is a witch hunter. And this is a romantasy, so hopefully you can see where I'm going with this. It was so good and so fun, and just like, oh, my heart aches for the fact that like Rune and Gideon can't be together, and my heart aches for a character death that happens in this book that like absolutely tore me to shreds, okay? But I was seeing a couple people talk about this on social media, especially Olivia Reads a Latte. She's doing, I don't know if you know who that is, but she's a booktube girly, and she's doing a current like series of like read it or unhaul it, where she's trying to work through her physical TBR. And this is one of the books that she read in the first episode of like that little series she's doing. And watching her read this and talk about it, I was instantly like, I need to get my hands on this. So I did. And it was so worth it. It was so worth it. Tension, sparks, like fantasy, witch hunter, forbidden romance, a little bit of spice, like twist, turns, mystery, stuff that you never even see coming. Too good, okay? And I am so excited. I'm so excited for the sequel in February. But I gave Heartless Hunter a 4.5 stars, and the song that I picked for Heartless Hunter was Howl by Florence and the Machine. And I feel like I'm gonna read the synopsis to you guys, okay? Enemies to lovers doesn't get more high stakes than a witch and a witch hunter falling in love. On the night Rune's life changed forever, blood ran in the streets. Now, in the aftermath of a devastating revolution, witches have been diminished from powerful rulers to outcasts, ruthlessly hunted due to their waning magic, and Rune must hide what she is. Spending her days pretending to be nothing more than a vapid young socialite, Rune spends her nights as the Crimson Moth, a witch vigilante who rescues her kind from being purged. When a rescue goes wrong, she decides to throw the witch hunters off her scent and gain the intel she desperately needs by courting the handsome Gideon Sharp. He's a notorious and unforgiving witch hunter, loyal to the revolution, and too late, Rune realizes she might be falling for him. Gideon loathes the decadence and the superficiality Rune represents, but when he learns the Crimson Moth has been using Rune's merchant ships to smuggle renegade witches out of the Republic, he inserts himself into her social circles by pretending to court her. He soon realizes that beneath her beauty and shallow facade is someone who is fiercely intelligent and tender, who feels like his perfect match. Except, what if she's the very villain that he's been hunting? If that sounds like your vibe, please go pick this up and read it. Thank you. All right. Now, the next book that I read is If We Were Villains by Emil Rio. Enter the players. There were 7 of us then, 7 bright young things with wide, precious futures ahead of us. Until that year, we saw no farther than the books in front of our faces. On the day Oliver Marks is released from jail, the man who put him there is waiting at the door. Detective Colburn wants to know the truth, and after 10 years, Oliver is finally ready to tell it. A decade ago, Oliver is one of 7 young Shakespearean actors at Delacour Classical Conservatory, a place of keen ambition and fierce competition. In this secluded world of firelight and leather-bound books, Oliver and his friends play the same roles on stage and off: hero, villain, tyrant, temptress, extra. But in their 4th and final year, good-natured rivalries turn ugly, and on opening night, real violence invades the students' world of make-believe. In the morning, the 4th years find themselves facing their very own tragedy and their greatest acting challenge yet: convincing the police, each other, and themselves that they are innocent. I actually quite like this book. I feel like I like Shakespeare in a normal way, if that makes sense. 2 seconds. I like Shakespeare in the sense that, like, I read Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet in high school and Macbeth, etc. And I like all of those, and I understand the references, and I love the language. I feel like a lot of people in high school who have to like read Shakespeare, they're like, I hate Shakespeare, I don't get it. But I quite like Shakespeare. But this is for like Shakespeare fanatics. There was like some things I understood and other things I didn't, and I feel like sometimes that kind of threw me off. And then not only that, I got such like pretentious ick a little bit. Like, not that it completely ruined the book, but there were just some moments where a character was doing something or saying something, and I was like, okay. And also there were just like a lot of parts that kind of like made me a little uncomfortable. There's like a whole scene where in one of the classes the students are expected to like stand up, and an entire class session is dedicated to them like pointing out their strengths and then following it up immediately with pointing out all of their insecurities. And it's just like a very public display of kind of like shame. And I will say the 2 things I didn't like, aka like sometimes the way characters were super pretentious, or like the entire shame and guilt and pointing out insecurities in a class, like those aspects really add to the character study aspect of the book. But I was mostly interested in Oliver and James. Okay, I love them. And like the whodunit, I do think it was very well written. Had me on the edge of my seat a lot of times, and I ended up giving it a 3.75 stars, which honestly, that's still quite good, okay? On Goodreads, one of my friends reviewed this book a while ago and was like, The Secret History, but for thespians. And I think that's really accurate. I've never read The Secret History. I really want to read it soon, but it's basically that. And the song that I picked for If We Were Villains is Achilles Come Down by Gang of Youths. Gang of Youths. That song to me is just so perfect and like basically pinpointing the dramatic and edge of your seat and kind of like very theatric feeling of this book. So and so now, last but certainly not least, a book that the masses have been telling me to read. Again, this is another book that my god sister loves, and she was like, you need to read this. And I've just been holding off on it. My best friend Sarah has read it and she loved it. Sage ASMR, I will be sure to tag her down below if I can remember. We're friends on Goodreads, and she just recently read it and like loved it. And so like a lot of people in my life and in my circle have really enjoyed it. Oh, hey guys, my cat has come to join me. Come here. That's what that meow screech you heard was. Come here, Munchkin. Come here. Say hello to the people. I think he just woke up from a nap because he was sleeping in the bedroom. Okay. Are you just gonna hang out with me now? Oh, he just flopped over on the rug. Okay. I'm gonna let him just lay there. You'll probably maybe be able to hear him purring, but anywho, this book has been highly recommended to me, and I decided it was time to finally read it. I picked up Fourth Wing, guys. Who would have ever seen the day? My cat is just looking at me. But I read Fourth Wing finally, and honestly, I quite liked it. I gave it 4.25 stars. I thought it was gonna be a 5-star, and then there were just like certain aspects of it where I was like, more specifically, Rebecca Yarros is like really good at introducing characters and then killing them off pretty quickly, and she doesn't really give you like any time to get connected to the characters, so it's like their deaths hold no emotional like attachment, like there's no emotional reaction to these people dying. I don't know exactly what the point of that was, other than to just like constantly remind us and remind Violet, who's the female main character, that like death is always around the corner for her. I don't know, so it kind of threw me off just because I was like, oh well, that person's dead, yeah, whatever. He is purring. My cat is purring so hard right now. Okay, he's moved to my lap. Anywho, but I actually did quite like our main characters, Violet and Xaden. I will say the love triangle, of course, is a little cliche. It's like best friend who you grew up with versus bad boy. But Dane is the best friend she grew up with, and he does some stuff in this book that is just shady as hell, and I'm like, you are not a good friend, my guy. But yeah, I did quite like it. The dragons are cool. I think realistically speaking, my favorite character is Taryn, which is Violet's dragon. Well, one of Violet's dragons. So, but I'm excited to get into Iron Flame, and then Onyx Storm comes out in January. I am taking a little bit of time. I don't want to read Iron Flame just yet because of the fact that I want to give it some time so I don't read it too quickly and then forget some things before Onyx Storm comes out at the end of January. But excuse me, buddy, I gotta get my iPad. The song that I picked for Fourth Wing was Enemy by Imagine Dragons. Because Violet has some enemies in this book, okay? But yeah. So, I read 5 books in the month of September, and honestly had a pretty good time reading majority of them except for the first one. Please be sure to comment down below what you read this month, what your favorite book was, and let's just talk about books. I'm excited to see you guys in the comments below, and I will do my best to respond when I can. I hope that everybody had a good September, and I will see you all in my next video. Do you want to say goodbye, buddy? Say goodbye. He's purring so hard right now. Oh my goodness. He's such a little baby. He loves to be held and snuggled, but thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. And I will see you all later.